You don't wake up in the morning expecting to save a life. Most days, you just wake up because your alarm clock says you have to. You drag yourself out of bed, you pull on the same oil-smudged coveralls you left by the chair the night before, and you head to work because that's what people do. That's exactly how Evan Carter's Thursday morning began. Evan was a mechanic at a small regional airport in Rochester, New York. He wasn't famous, wasn't the kind of man whose face you'd see on a billboard or whose name would trend online. The world wasn't built to notice men like Evan. He was one of those invisible people, the kind who made sure planes flew safely, that bolts stayed tight and fuel lines didn't leak, that passengers got to their families and business trips without ever knowing he existed. He liked it that way. It was a chilly morning in late October, one of those crisp, blue sky days where the air stung your cheeks and made every breath feel sharp and clean. The sun was barely over the horizon when Evan clocked in. His coffee was already cold, and the only thing on his mind was whether the stubborn hydraulic line on Gate 17's plane had been sorted overnight. It hadn't. He sighed, grabbed his toolbox, and headed out onto the tarmac, the hum of engines and the distant call of gulls filling the air. Then came the call on the radio. "Ground maintenance, come in. This is Tower. We've got a situation on runway 2B. Evan pressed the button on his belt clip. "Go ahead, Tower." Pilots reporting a drop in hydraulic pressure on the left side. Instruments are reading green, but he says it feels off. Holding short before takeoff. Evan hesitated. He was technically done for the morning. His shift ended at 7. But something about the call, the pilot's instinct overriding clean instrument readings, tugged at him. In his 15 years working around planes, Evan had learned one thing above all else: a pilot's gut feeling was worth listening to. He grabbed his tools and jogged toward runway 2B. The 737 sat there quietly, engines idling, sun glinting off its silver fuselage. The pilot cracked open the window as Evan approached. "Jack," Evan called up. "You feeling something weird?" The pilot nodded. "Left steering feels loose. No warning lights, but it's not right. Could be nothing, but..." Evan knew that look. He'd seen it a dozen times. It wasn't panic. It was something deeper, the quiet, unexplainable knowledge that something unseen might be waiting. Without another word, Evan dropped to one knee by the nose gear. He ran his fingers over the landing assembly, checking the lines, the bolts, the fittings. And then he saw it. A hydraulic coupling, the size of a thumb, was loose. Not by much, just enough for one side to shift under pressure. It wouldn't have failed on takeoff. But on landing? With the stress of descent and braking? It might have. It was a small thing. An inch-wide piece of metal that 172 passengers' lives unknowingly depended on. "Got it," Evan muttered. He flagged the cockpit. "Hold her, Jack. Found a loose coupling. Give me 5. As he set to work tightening it, something made him glance up. From one of the cabin windows, a woman was watching him. She wasn't just looking down the way people idly do before takeoff. Her face was pale, and her eyes were locked on his face like she'd just seen a ghost. Evan frowned. He tried to shake it off, but something about her expression chilled him. She mouthed something. He couldn't quite make it out. Was it? "It's you?" Before he could figure it out, he finished the repair, double-checked the lines, and radioed the all-clear. The pilot acknowledged. The engines powered up, but before the plane began taxiing, the cabin door opened. That never happens. A flight attendant hurried down the stairs, a slight edge of urgency in her step. "Are you Evan Carter?" she asked. "Yeah. There's a passenger who needs to see you. Now." Evan blinked. "Me." He followed her up the air stairs and into the cabin, the hum of the engines a low vibration underfoot. Passengers looked up, puzzled, but in row 5A stood a woman in her early 60s. Her storm gray hair framed a face that had seen things, kindness and hardship, joy and grief. She stared at him, eyes glassy with tears. "It's you," she whispered. Evan looked around, confused. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. Have we met?" She reached into her purse and pulled out a worn, faded photograph. Time had dulled its colors, but the image was clear. A snow-covered roadside. A little boy, no older than 8, standing beside a broken-down car. A young woman knelt beside him, her arm around his shoulder. In the background, a diner's neon sign flickered. Evan's stomach dropped. "That's me. I've been looking for you," the woman said, her voice trembling. "For over 30 years." Passengers leaned in, the low murmur of curiosity filling the cabin. The woman's name was Alice Monroe, and on a bitter winter night in 1985, her car had spun off a rural highway outside Auburn, New York, during a snowstorm. She'd been newly widowed, alone, driving through a blizzard to escape memories too heavy to bear. She might have frozen to death that night. But a woman named Margaret Carter, Evan's mother, and her 8-year-old son had found her stranded by the roadside. They towed her car, brought her to a tiny diner, given her a hot meal and a place to stay. They talked for hours in the glow of Christmas lights, two women who'd both lost more than they deserved. Margaret had given Alice a snowflake-shaped pendant when they said goodbye. A reminder, she'd said, that there's always good people left in the world. Alice had spent years searching for them. But Margaret died in a car accident just 2 years later, and Evan had gone into foster care. No forwarding address. No trace. Until today. I saw your face out that window, Alice said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Same eyes. Same smile as that little boy who sat with me in that diner. I thought I was dreaming. Evan's throat tightened. He remembered that night. The snowflakes as big as quarters. The way his mother had smiled despite everything. The way the strange woman had cried when they brought her cocoa. She passed when I was 10, Evan managed. Alice took his hand. I tell my daughters about her every year. How one woman and a little boy saved my life. And I swore if I ever found you, I'd thank you. Today, you saved me again. They stood there, two people bound by a night long gone, the years folding between them like pages in a book. Before she boarded, Alice pressed something into Evan's palm. It was the snowflake pendant. It belongs to you, she said softly. It always did. The engines roared to life. The plane rolled down the runway, lifting into the morning sky. Evan stood on the tarmac, fingers clutching the cold silver pendant, watching until the plane vanished. Some stories don't make the headlines. They're not sung in anthems or etched in stone. They're lived quietly, in moments of kindness and instinct, in the way a wrench turned at the right time can save a plane, and a single act of kindness in a snowstorm can ripple through decades. Evan Carter didn't expect to be a hero that day, but he was. And somewhere in the sky above, a woman finally found the peace she'd been chasing for 30 years.